Hey YouTubers, it's the American Samurai coming back to you again with a quick book series review. Now this is one that I know a lot of guys and gals out there are Sailor Moon fans. There's nothing wrong with that. I myself didn't care for the series early on. It was on Toonami. But recently I've gotten into the manga series, and I have to admit it's quite an enjoyable series. And also I've been reading some fanfiction crossovers with Naruto that are really enjoyable. I really like it. The one I highly recommend checking out if you're looking for good fan fiction is one called Moonlight Fox. I have not read all the way through. And actually did a sequel. The guy who wrote actually did a sequel to it too on fanfiction.net. So actually all the crossovers I've read are pretty good. But anyways, what a lot of people may or may not know is like the legendary original series of Ultra Muscle, which the toys and the games came out in America, but the anime series and the manga never came out in America. There was a precursor to the Sailor Moon series. Now, if you remember correctly in the anime series, another Sailor Scout had been fighting crime a lot longer than Serena or Usagi, whatever you want to call her, and her friends. And that Sailor Scout went by the simple name of Codename Sailor V. So, this is a precursor, similar to a lot of other ones you've seen. It's a 2-volume series. And this tells the story behind the story of how Mina met Artemis and how they went on adventures solo before the Sailor Scouts show up. And there are little cameos by Usagi and the others. And forgive me if I'm pronouncing the name wrong, I think. But it's really enjoyable and just a really good series. If you're in hardcore to Sailor Moon, you probably already know about this series, but you may have not known it was out in America because there was an anime series too. Unfortunately, I don't think that will ever come out in America. I'm so sorry to be the bearer of bad news about that. But anyways, yeah. So this is just a great series of books, especially even if you're not into Sailor Moon. I highly recommend reading it. I do warn you that you will cry. Because, not to spoil the story for you, but Sailor V does have a protector like Sailor Moon does. But she doesn't get the... Well, I don't want to spoil it for you because you gotta read the book to find out. It's just really interesting, but she does have a protector originally like Sailor Moon does, but his name is the Phantom Ace. Think Tuxedo Mask meets Gambit kind of deal. And it goes through the trial and tribulations Mina goes through, and how the Sailor V game came about, and how come they like it so. How come the fact that it's actually training it trains the scouts, but they don't know it, they don't realize it. And about the arcade and everything else. So it's really interesting story. A lot of foreshadowing here and there. I highly recommend if you're into the Sailor Moon series, or if you just maybe you've heard of it but you don't know where to start. Start Codename Sailor V, volumes 1 and 2. And what do I give this series? Well, as I've often said in some of my wrestling views, if you're a hardcore fan, and I know there are hardcore Sailor Moon fans out there. I knew one in high school. She was a tough gal, let me tell you. You know, it's like with Bronies and Pegasisters. If that's what you're into, I say go for it all the way. So yeah, overall, just a great manga series. Really enjoyable. Some of the stories and the artwork. Let me show you some of the artwork here. As you can see, it's got the same artwork as the original and introduces a lot of characters and new different bad guys that you never got to see and also the Dark Moon Talent Agency, which I believe by the time Sailor Moon was actually already destroyed by Sailor V. And it also explains that Mina, even though it doesn't show it in the anime, is actually a police officer. Later on, she actually ends up getting recruited by one of the police agencies. So it's really interesting. A lot of different facts and stuff you wouldn't know if you didn't, Like I said, this takes place about a year before the Sailor Moon series. And there was an anime of it, and I think you can watch it on YouTube, but that's the only place. So as I was saying, what's the scale? Well, I was never a Sailor Moon fan until I read this. And then I started getting into the series, and now I've got quite a few of the books, about volumes 1 through 8, plus the short story collections. One of the short story collections. So I have to say, this really opened the gateway for me, because I like to start at the beginning, begin at the beginning, and when it comes to then stop, to quote the White Rabbit from Alice in Wonderland. So I really like this. I give this series on a scale of from 1 to 10. I have to give it a 10 because it actually made me into a fan of Sailor Moon. And I was never a fan of the anime series. Now I'm suddenly into it, so I give it 10. If you're a Sailor Moon fan, pick it up. It's not that expensive. I think I paid... Yeah, it's about $11 each. So about 22 something probably total. You can pick them up at Barnes & Noble, Amazon.com, or any local retailers. I highly recommend checking out the series, especially if you're one of the guys like me who likes to know the story behind the story. Until next time, this is your good pal, the American Samurai, saying, stay true to what you like, stay true to what you believe, and until next time, sayonara!